everyone, so today we are going to be covering the who, what, why, when, where and how of filing your beneficial ownership information with FinCEN. So just as an overview as to why this information is being collected, they stated that it's part of compliance with the Corporate Transparency Act and basically just to help prevent criminals, terrorists and bad actors from abusing corporate structures to hide illicit proceeds in the US. So basically it's just to prevent financial crime and those hiding behind the corporate veil. And for anyone who's had concerns about privacy, they do have to comply with the Privacy Act of 1974, and they've stated that they have utilized a secure, non-public database that employs basically the highest level of federal security. So your information is supposed to be safe, and it should be safe based on the systems that they're using. And also here with the Privacy Act, you can see that they've given the purpose of collecting the information, and they've also stated that the information that's collected may be shared as a routine use with other government agencies and financial institutions. So they have a lot more information if you click on the links in the description box, and you can see in some cases they actually do have to get your consent before sharing with like financial institutions, for example, but it may be shared across other government agencies. But I would say it's not something to be worried about. If you have an SSN or a US passport, the government has your ID anyway, so just bear that in mind. Okay, so when we're looking at who needs to file, they are referring to these companies as reporting companies, and these companies that have to file are typically LLCs, corporations, and other entities that were created by filing a document with a Secretary of State or similar office in the United States. Another thing to note is that sole proprietors don't actually have to file unless you filed some kind of documentation with a Secretary of State. You don't actually fall under this category. So there's that. And then there are also 23 entities that are exempt. So these include things like banks and financial institutions. So unless you are one of those, and there are 23 and the list is in the description box, you won't be needing to file. But for corporations, LLCs and most common business structures that were filed with the Secretary of State in any state of the US, then you will have to file. So when we're talking about who needs to file within the company, let's say you have multiple people under your company, the people who need to file or who are categorized as beneficial owners are anyone who directly or indirectly exercises substantial control or owns at least 25% of the ownership interest. And then there is more information about who or what substantial control amounts to, and it's things like senior officers of the company, the president, chief financial officers, general counsel, etc., or ultimately decision makers or directors of the company that actually have some kind of control. So they have broken it down. Again, this small entity compliance guide that they provided is very helpful, and that link is in the description box also. So when it comes to the actual information that's being collected, the things that you'll need for the reporting company is the company's full legal name, any trade names or DBAs, a current US address, the jurisdiction of formation, so like the country it was formed in the state, and also your tax identifier number, so either your ITIN or your EIN, and for any companies that utilize SSNs, then that would be required there also. For the actual individual or the beneficial owner of the company, you'll need the full legal name, the date of birth, the complete current address, your identifying number for your identification. So if it's a passport, your passport number, or your state ID, that state ID number, and then also the image of that document. Now, another thing you can do is create a FinCEN ID. So it's right here. The FinCEN identifier is just an ID with FinCEN that you can create separately. If you already have one of these, then all you'd have to do is put in your FinCEN ID number. So that's something you can know, or you can request it after you've created your actual application. So that's that. Also, with company applicants, here it says for each beneficial owner or company applicant. The thing with that is company applicants are only going to be required for companies formed on or after the 1st of January 2024. So if your company has already existed, you won't need to provide a company applicant. That company applicant just refers to the person who filed the company. Let's say you had an agent or somebody file your LLC on your behalf, they would be required to report their information only for LLCs and companies formed after the 1st of January 2024. And speaking of dates, when it comes to the when, FinCEN has officially started accepting the filing of these reports as of the 1st of January 2024, and you can do it either online or via PDF, downloading it and then submitting it. We'll get to that in just a moment, but if your company already existed before the 1st of January 2024, you have until the 1st of January 2025 to file this report. So there's two sides to this. One, I don't want you to panic because I know there's been a lot of talk about the implications and the penalties that will occur if you don't file, but you do have a full, well, less than 365 days now to file it. But I don't want you to panic. At the same time, I don't want you to procrastinate because I don't want you to fall into the trap of saying to yourself, oh, I have time, and then the time comes and you've run out of time. So the earlier you do it, the better. It's very straightforward, very quick, and shouldn't take you very long at all. And for companies that were formed after January 1st, 2024, but before January 1st, 2025, you will have 90 days after receiving your actual or public notice that your company has been created to file this report. So you have less of a time frame if you are filing this year. Also, there'll be more requirements in terms of who also has to file under that report. So we'll go into that in the walkthrough and I'll touch on that briefly as well. And then for companies formed after January 1st, 2025, you will have 30 days. So they're giving you less and less time depending on the timeline of when your company was created, but you do have to just make sure you get it in within the timeline in order to avoid the penalties, because they will come down hard on companies when that time comes. But for now, I don't want you to panic. At the same time, I don't want you to procrastinate. It's very straightforward, so the earlier you get it done, the better. So now we will head on to do a quick walkthrough of what the system looks like and how you'll actually be able to file. Okay, so now that we've gone through the who, what, why, and when, this is the where and the how. So where you file is online at boiefiling.fincen.gov. The link will be in the description box, and it will bring you to this landing page where you have two options, either to file or get some more information. So for the purposes of this demonstration, we will be clicking on file. And this is where you have the two options I referred to earlier. So you can either download the PDF, prepare everything offline, and then come back to submit it here, or you can simply file it online. The information collected is the same, it's just the methodology in which you choose that you have the options for here. So if we just click on prepare and submit, it will bring you to this page, and it's broken down into 5 segments: filing information, the reporting company, the applicants where needed, beneficial owners, and then the submission. So it is very straightforward, and what's helpful is that it has these help drop down boxes for everything. So if you're confused, you can literally just click on this and it will explain in detail, and the PDF version also has the same instructions for filing each line item. So for anyone who is doing an initial report, which will be the case for most people, you'll just select initial report. The date is auto-filled, so you don't have to do anything with that. This is just information on the Privacy Act and Paperwork Reduction Act notice that I touched on earlier in the video. Okay, the next one here is the reporting company's information. Here you can request to receive a FinCEN ID for your company. If you are going to be filing, if your company is under another company and you want to get a FinCEN ID just to expedite the process, then you can request to do that. It's free, so I would recommend doing that, especially if you have multiple filings to do. And here you'll just be adding your company's legal name and any alternative names. If you have more than one, you can add as many as you need to. Then you need to add in the form of identification. So you've got your tax ID, so that would be your EIN, SSN or ITIN, or foreign identification if you have one. And as you can see, if you hover over each of these, they give you even more information. So very detailed and very helpful system that they've provided. And then your jurisdiction of formation, so if it was the US or any other country, you would enter that here, and then you would just put in your full business address, and that's the reporting company information. So as you can see, very simple. Now when it comes to company applicants, so if your company existed before 1st of January 2024, as I mentioned, then you would just select this, and it's telling you that it's graying out all this information here. So company applicant information is only going to be required for companies that were formed after the 1st of January 2024, and that's for anybody who's filing the company on behalf of another entity, and their information will be needed also. So for any companies that I file in the future, I now have a FinCEN ID, and as a company applicant, I would put that in here, and they already have all my information. So for most people, you would just skip to beneficial owner, and this is where you'll be providing your personal information. So here, if you're filing on behalf of a minor, you would just select that. If not, you would just keep moving. If you already have a FinCEN ID, which you can create separately, you can just enter your FinCEN ID here, and that will just populate these fields, and you won't have to fill in any of this information. If you don't have a FinCEN ID, which most people won't, you can just go in and enter your legal name, date of birth, your residential address. So the next step would be to add in your identification and where it was issued. So you would select what type of document you are uploading. So it can be a state issued driver's license, a state or local tribe issued ID, U.S passport, or a foreign passport. So you just select that here. And then most of these documents, in fact, all of these documents have document numbers. So you would put your passport number or your license number here. Next, you would just submit the information of where it was issued from, country, state, local or tribal, or any other description that you may need based on the drop down, and then you would just upload an image of that document here. And they do need a specific format for upload, so it can be either JPEG, JPG, PNG, or PDF, and it's one file. So it's just, if it's your passport, just a scan of your passport front page. If it's your license, just get the front and back on one page and get it uploaded in here. Finally, on the submission page, you would just enter the email, confirm your email, the name and last name of the person filing. So for example, if I was filing, I would provide my information if I was filing on behalf of one of my clients. If I was filing for myself and it's my company, I would put my information here. So once you certify that you are authorized to report on behalf of the company, and also that the information is true, correct and complete, then you can click on agree. And this is just a compliance reminder that states that the failure to upload truthful information or the willful failure will result in civil or criminal penalties. Confirm that you are human, love a good captcha, and then you can submit. And once you submitted, you'll see the submission status confirmation page. You'll get your BOIR ID as well as a submission tracking ID, and you also want to make sure you download the transcript, and that will look like this, as well as containing the information you filed. And if you need any help whatsoever, I know it can be daunting, I'm here to help, so just reach out. I'll be holding a free walkthrough workshop just like this but live, as well as providing filing services. So please don't be scared to reach out. Thank you for watching, and I hope this was helpful.